My father-in-law won a Kindle at work. He asked my sister-in-law if she wanted it. She said no. He called me. I said yes. I had that little Kindle for years, filled it with hundreds of books, loved it. Then one day, at a backyard BBQ, my sister-in-law casually informed me that actually, it was hers. She'd like it back. Whenever I was ready, I called my father-in-law to confirm I wasn't losing my mind. He confirmed I was not. He also, and I want to be very clear about this, left the conditions of the return entirely unspecified, so we plugged it in, wiped it completely clean, and dropped it off, just like the day it left the factory. This is a short, petty, beautiful story about a first-generation Kindle, a very revisionist family member, and the most legally and morally impeccable act of revenge I've ever heard of. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and let me tell you about the device we returned in perfect condition. It was 2012. My father-in-law won a Kindle at a work event, the kind of raffle prize that generates a moment of genuine excitement before the winner starts wondering what they're actually going to do with it. He asked my sister-in-law first. She wasn't interested. He called me next. I said yes immediately, because I am a reader, and a first-generation Kindle, even without a backlight or color, is an absolute treasure to a reader. He gave it to me. It was mine. I want to tell you about the life of this little device, because it deserves the tribute. That first-gen Kindle was not glamorous. No backlight, which meant you needed external lighting to read in the dark. No color, a small, slightly clunky design that would look primitive compared to anything on the market today. None of this bothered me in the slightest. I filled it, completely, comprehensively, enthusiastically filled it. Books I had read and loved. Books I had been meaning to read for years. Books I'd heard were brilliant. Books I'd heard were so aggressively terrible that the badness itself was worth experiencing firsthand. The kind of eclectic, sprawling, completely personal library that only forms over years of a genuine reading habit. I used that Kindle constantly. It traveled with me. It was my default companion in waiting rooms, on long trips, in the quiet hours before bed. For a reader, a fully loaded e-reader is not a gadget. It is a way of life. This is the background against which the BBQ conversation needs to be understood. We were at a family barbecue. My sister-in-law came over, and somehow the topic of books came up. She asked if I had read the Witcher series. I told her I had. It was on my Kindle actually. She asked how many books I had on the device. I told her a lot, hella to be specific. I assumed she was going to ask for recommendations. Her husband had apparently been wanting to get into reading, and I figured she was building up to asking what he should start with. I was completely prepared for this conversation. I have opinions about books. I am ready to share them at any time. That was not the conversation she was building toward, she said, with the casual confidence of someone delivering information rather than making a request. Yeah, about that. The Kindle had actually been hers. Her dad had given it to her, but since it had ended up with me, whenever I was ready to return it, I could just drop it off at her place. I stood there for a moment. I want to be honest, my first instinct was to doubt myself. That's the thing about a confident, casual claim delivered at a family event. It creates a moment of genuine uncertainty where you start wondering if you misremembered something. If there had been a conversation you'd forgotten, if somehow your clear memory of receiving this gift directly was the thing that was wrong. I called my father-in-law. I asked him, straightforwardly, if I was misreading the situation. Had there been an arrangement I wasn't aware of? Had the Kindle actually been designated for my sister? He told me it was mine. He had offered it to her. She had declined. He had called me. I had accepted. There was no arrangement, no understanding, no conditional loan. I had received it as a gift years ago, and it was mine. He also noted, and I appreciated the elegance of how he framed this, that if I did choose to return it, the conditions of that return were entirely up to me. He didn't specify what he meant by that. He didn't need to. We plugged the Kindle in, we navigated to the settings menu, found the factory reset option, and confirmed the action. Everything I had loaded onto that device over the years, every book, every personal setting, every piece of the library I had built, wiped completely, returned to exactly the state the device had been in when it came out of the box in 2012. We dropped it off. My sister-in-law was not pleased. Her specific complaint was that I had wasted an e-book by doing the reset, that wiping the device had somehow destroyed content that she considered valuable. I want to address this briefly. That is not how Kindle devices work. A factory reset clears the device. Purchased content is tied to the Amazon account, not the hardware. The device was returned in the same condition it had been given to me, a clean slate, ready for use, precisely as it had been when my father-in-law brought it home from his work event. I had received a Kindle. I returned a Kindle. What I had filled it with over the years was mine to keep or delete as I chose, because it had been my device. What she received was exactly what she should have taken when her father offered it to her in 2012. No more, no less. Here is what I appreciate most about this story. We did nothing wrong. We did nothing that could be criticized from any reasonable angle. We were asked to return a device, and we returned a device. Clean, functional, completely operational, exactly as it came from the factory. The complaint that we wasted an e-book is, I think, the sound of someone who had expected the return to include all the work put into the device over the years by the person who had actually owned it. The implication being that somehow filling a device with years of personal reading made the device more hers, rather than more ours. It did not work that way. The Kindle went home. The library stayed. There is a lesson somewhere in here about the difference between what someone offers you and what someone lends you, and the importance of understanding which category you're in before you come to a barbecue years later to make a claim. My father-in-law offered the Kindle. She declined. He offered it again to someone who accepted. The transaction was complete in 2012. The only question that remained, a decade later, was what a return device would look like. It looked exactly like a factory reset. Rest in peace, little Kindle. You were good to us. If this gave you that specific, petty, completely justified satisfaction, smash that like button and drop a comment. Have you ever returned something in technically perfect condition that made the other person realize exactly what they were actually asking for? I want every story. And if you want more tales of pettiness executed with impeccable logic, subscribe. New story every week. See you in the next one.